Iran talking all big and bad before talks on Friday. They say they only want to meet alone with the United States. Well, yesterday, the U.S. military shot down an Iranian drone flying aggressively around the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. Hours later, 6 Iranian gunboats pursued a U.S.-flagged oil tanker not far from the Abraham Lincoln. Iran is also now pushing to upend the framework of those negotiations that are scheduled for Friday. NATO Ambassador Matt Whitaker.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, this case opens with threats before talks, force before diplomacy. A drone shot down, ships harassed, demands rewritten at the last minute. Iran talks tough. The United States shows its cards. Now the question, who's bluffing and who holds real power?
President Trump is not going to be eternally patient with the Iranians. I think President Trump is willing to have this meeting at the end of the week, but at the same time, you know, he has an armada sitting in the region ready to do whatever needs to be done to make sure that Iran does not ever possess a nuclear weapon.
Senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner has more from the State Department. Jillian.
Good morning to you, Harris. So Secretary Rubio is in the middle of giving remarks right now, and he just signaled that these talks with Iran are indeed back on track, but he is pushing back on some of those erratic demands that Iranian officials made yesterday. You just laid some of them out for us. One of the things they said yesterday was, when we meet with you guys on Friday, we only want to talk about the nuclear issue, nothing else. Rubio just said, essentially, that ain't going to work. Take a listen.
Look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people.
Now, overnight, Iran's foreign minister told an Iranian outlet, quote, planning for the negotiations has been made for the coming days, and consultations to determine the venue for the talks are currently underway, while info will be shared as soon as it is finalized. That tone, an abrupt departure from 2 alarming military provocations the regime made yesterday. U.S. Central Command destroyed an Iranian drone as it approached a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier with unclear intent. They shot it down in self-defense. Then shortly after that incident, Iranian forces harassed a U.S. commercial ship in the Strait of Hormuz, even threatening at one point to board that vessel. President Trump yesterday seemed determined, nonetheless, to push through with these talks. Take a listen.
They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out, and we did Midnight Hammer. I don't think they want that happening again, but they would like to negotiate.
So Iranian officials yesterday also made this 11th hour gambit to try and move the venue of the talks from Turkey to Oman. They also want to essentially kick out the other Arab nation participants and go it alone with the Trump administration. Officials here, Harris, are still working through that series of demands this morning.
Jillian, thank you very much. In focus now, Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, also Vice President of National Security for the Heritage Foundation. Great to see you today. First of all, the president says he's still willing to talk with Iran at this point. That's got to tell me, art of the deal, that he sees some weakness there. He sees some leverage for the United States. What could that be?
Well, I think he has tremendous leverage, Harris, and what he has is the systematic collapse of Iran economically. They can't get out of the problems they have created for themselves. And so unlike previous attempts to negotiate with them, you know, the president holds all of the powerful cards here. And so if they want any kind of relief from sanctions, if they want not to have themselves be attacked by that very strong armada that's been assembled in the region, then they're going to have to make serious concessions. And that's what Secretary Rubio was talking about. It's not just the nuclear file, although that may be the most important issue for the president. But it's also going to be things like regional support for terrorism, like their treatment of their own people, like their ever-growing collection of ballistic missiles. All of those things need to be on the table. And so I think that gives the president, as I said, a lot of leverage to maybe get to that real deal, unlike the failed Obama-era nuclear deal.
Victoria, the president had promised to help the people of Iran when he could. How can that happen when they're willing to kill so many of their own people? What does help truly look like?
Well, and this was a truly egregious situation in the middle of January. We still don't know the scope of it, Harris. It was one of the most just heartbreaking demonstrations of repressive violence that we've ever seen. And I think what we need is a lot more clarity from institutions like the United Nations. They should be shouting from the rooftops about this
instead of being silent.
A really excellent question. And so, they're so eager to condemn Israel for what they call genocide, and an actual genocide goes unmentioned. I guess it would be bad manners at Turtle Bay. But in this case, I think what the president is doing is demonstrating the weakness of this regime. They basically, sent a gnat of a drone against the U.S. Abraham Lincoln, and we shot it out of the sky with an F-35, one of our most powerful weapons. So, that is a signal that they can't do anything about this, and that signal of weakness in last June is really what inspired the most recent protests. I think that's what the president can do.
What comes when the current regime, if they leave on their own, if they're kicked out, whatever happens, the people in the street are going to come back. They're not going to go quietly into that dark night. And some of the numbers are huge. We can't verify it, just as you said. But today, some reporting has it around 30,000. It hovered around 5,000 for a while. We don't know what to believe, but it's a lot of people. So who would take over? And are those people that would be at least workable with the United States?
Well, I think that's, really for the people of Iran to decide. Obviously, there are a number of different potential candidates, but I think for the administration, preserving stability as they have in Venezuela is going to be really important. And that's something we're working on at Heritage, is what institutions can be preserved. How do you avoid the disaster of de-Baathification in Iraq, which descended that country into chaos? And so that's where we're going to be doing a lot of thinking. I think the American perspective will be different, obviously, than the Iranian perspective, but we want to talk to a lot of partners and allies on that, is how do we make this the best possible transition for the Iranian people?
I want to just set something before I let you go. There was a time, we've seen Iran ebb and flow with freedom for its people. If you want to say it wasn't always full-fledged freedom, but more than what we're seeing now. Could we go forward and see something again where young women and children have more freedom on the streets and in the neighborhoods of Iran around the ideas of education and self-expression, that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Iran has the third largest proven oil reserves on the planet. They should be incredibly prosperous, a beautiful, beautiful people, wonderful culture. This can be the crown jewel of the Middle East, a great friend to the United States. And I think maybe what we might be seeing here is perhaps a kind of a Gorbachev moment where the economic problems are so severe they can't be fixed. And that eventually is what brought down the Soviet Union.
Wow, a Gorbachev moment. I wrote that down. One last thought about that, because that is the line of the day right now, Victoria.
Well, thank you, Harris. But I mean, that was really Reagan's philosophy toward the Cold War. We win, they lose. How did he do that? He did that by building up our military in a way they couldn't match, and then undermining their economy dramatically. And that he won without firing a shot. I think that's what we can hope for here.
Victoria Coates, the National Security Vice President of the Heritage Foundation. Good to see you today. Thank you.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.
The evidence is clear. Pressure talks louder than threats. Negotiations only work when all the facts are on the table. In this courtroom of global power, leverage decides the verdict.